You're listening to the Project Ignite podcast,
where real digital entrepreneurs reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies to help you ignite and grow your online business.
ProjectIgnite.com. Your digital business starts here.
Now, here's your host, Derek Gale.
Welcome to another episode of the Project Ignite podcast, where we skip the hype, skip all the BS, and bring you real actionable tips and strategies to help you grow your business and income on the internet. This is your host, Derek Gale, and today we're going to be diving into social media and how to use it more effectively. And to share their expertise today is the scientist for the Social Media Lab, who is responsible for conducting extensive tests and research to help social media managers and business owners get the most out of their posts. And he likes to bust a lot of the social media myths, many which are being sold to you by lots of gurus out there. So he posts those along the way. He's also the co-author of Facebook's All-in-One for Dummies and has written over 2,000, that's a lot, 2,000 blog posts on social media topics, including 3 which made it to Social Media Examiner's top social media blogs list. So, I mean, this guy loves busting myths about social media marketing. And even if that means going against what he's been taught by the other gurus. And so, I mean, he's bringing real world, scientifically tested information to us here today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Scott Ayres to the show. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me way down in Texas. It's good to be on. It's funny, like you mentioned, like calling out the gurus.
Yeah.
Here's a real world example of this in practice. I spoke at an event like 2 years ago, and a guy spoke before me who was using some data that I had debunked an experiment. And I'm coming up like literally right after him. I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be interesting. And a couple people who knew me were like looking at me like, and they're texting me like, are you going to keep doing it? Like, oh yeah, I'm calling him out. So like in the middle of my speech, I said, hey, I'm not going to name them. Yeah. Like your data is wrong. And here's why, and called them out. And it was like this fun little thing because my goal is, I want to call out gurus, and I hate the word guru.
So do I.
Hate it. But call people out like me. Like you mentioned, I've written 2,000 blog posts or so, maybe more than that now. And a lot of it was BS. It was like, hey, here's the 5 best things to post on Instagram, and I made it up. It worked maybe on our account, but I didn't test it enough beyond that. And there's a lot of people in, especially the social media marketing space, and this is probably true with every niche, is there's people who test, they see something that works on their accounts and they just assume that it works on everybody else's. You know what happens when you assume? It makes an ass out of you and me. And that's we got to stop doing that. And so it's been fun the last 4.5 years. I'm here at the Social Media Lab, which is a part of Agora Pulse, to just say we're gonna push the limits. We're gonna tick some people off. I've literally gotten on a couple of tests I've done, like dirty messages and emails from people I'm friends with, quote unquote, in the social media marketing space, saying, hey, you can't say that. I'm selling a course on that. I'm like, sorry,
it's what
you're wrong.
Is.
It is what it is. That's my life motto. It's like, it is what it is. And so that's been my main goal. And so it's fun to talk about that stuff. And I'm wrong a lot of the time. And my wife of 27 years will tell you that I'm always wrong. But I'm wrong a lot of my hypotheses that I think are going to work. And then I'm like, oh, I tested it. And I'm like, okay, data's data. And we just got to run with it.
I just want to highlight something you said earlier, and I think it's an important message for the listeners is what works for one business type may not work for another business type. And we live in this online world where, there are people like myself who are teaching people online business and stuff. Right. And a lot of times people come out and they'll say, because they're selling a course, I'm going to show you the number one strategy to, do this, and this, or here's my favorite. And this isn't social, it's email marketing, but, I see people say the best time of day to send your email promotions are, 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I say, okay, great. maybe for your business.
Right.
But that doesn't mean my market's going to be answering or looking at email at the same time as your market. And so when you listen to people like Scott and I, you need to take this and ask yourself, does it work? And then test it.
And that's true. I mean, that's why we try to with the lab is, we want to try to test an algorithm, not an audience. And that typically means in most cases, in Instagram and Twitter are probably our easiest to do this on. Facebook is harder. YouTube is even, much harder. Email is even harder. And we've done some tests on email, but we want to test the algorithm, not an audience. So what that means is when I'm testing stuff on Instagram, I'm testing across 10, 12 accounts with a different audience, with different, niche that's carved out for it. That way I can average all of the data together and then come up with a conclusion. Yeah. Because what happens all the time, like you just mentioned, is we see something that's like, hey, this is working for me and this is killer. And you want to share it. There's no problem. I mean, I get it. Like you're excited. Like I figured something out. Yeah. And then you go share it and you're like, your followers try it and they're like, this doesn't work. Because they're in a different niche than you. They have a different audience than you. And your individual account's not testing the algorithm completely. And so that's why we try our best, especially organically speaking. Yes. Paid is a little different. Paid, you're going to be very specific to one industry for the most part. But organically speaking, I try to test an algorithm, not the audience. And that's averaging all this stuff together. Because sometimes, like I mentioned, I'm wrong a lot. I'll see one of my pages that I'm testing. Like I just ran an Instagram hashtag test for it's a retest actually of, how many hashtags perform best between 1 and 10 hashtags on Instagram. Yeah. And I'll see one of my accounts like doing really well at one of them, but then when I average it together, it kind of gets muted or it changes a little bit. I'm like, okay, it's a good thing I didn't report about that single one, but that's what happens a lot in our space is you get the gurus who have, and I go back to this really, it's a real, example, and I won't give a name, but this person had like 500,000, 750,000 followers on Twitter, and Periscope launched. And of course, Periscope has now been killed at this point. Yes. And they launched Periscope and got tens of thousands of views on their Periscope videos. And then they created a program on it. They were selling it for $49 or whatever it was and telling everybody how to do Periscope marketing. You should do this. And no one was seeing the same results. But they had 500,000 or more followers where, Susie Marketer over here has got like 500 followers on Twitter and nobody's watching them on Twitter, on Periscope. And so that's the problem we have. And that's where I try to got to go across multiple industries to try to make sure that our data is statistically significant, which is a phrase I couldn't say 4 years ago, and really dive into that data and make sure that, hey, if it's not statistically significant, like if you know anything about COVID vaccines, we're talking about statistically significant stuff a lot right now. We got to be 95%, sure that this will work on someone else's account. And if it's not, I can't draw a conclusion on it other than like a meh at the end.
So, and this is why, just for our listeners, this is why I enjoy interviewing people like yourself who are part of an agency, because you guys get to see across accounts and and you get to see a broad spectrum in the market. Whereas again, I see so many people that, launch their courses on, how to do this on Instagram or that on Facebook or whatever. And they did it on one account with their one thing. And is it really replicatable? And there's all of these unknowns or these other things you're not seeing that contributed to that success, like the 500,000 followers on their other account. Right. And
and that's a huge problem. And I think all of us fall into that. I've fallen into that before. I used to work for a company where, we had 200,000-300,000 followers on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. and I would write about stuff and get lots of praise and everybody loved it. And it worked for our account. And then users would try it and they're like, it's crickets.
Yeah.
Because we were so different and so unique. And that's what you got to look at. And that's why I always say, even on the tests that we do, and I've probably ran, if I were to go back and look in 4.5 years, 120, 130 experiments that we've published, which means there's probably another 30 or 40 we never published, because the data just was kind of not good enough, or we messed up in the process. You want to test everything, even as a marketer, like you were mentioning emails and stuff like that. You want to keep testing and testing and testing and testing for yourself to see what works for you. My goal is to help you like go from stage 1 to like maybe stage 3 or 4.
Yeah.
In the process, like let's skip a couple of steps and at least, okay, somebody has spent $15,000 a month and they're testing this. I don't have to do that. So I can at least move forward a little bit and skip. It's like the fast pass at Disney World.
Sure.
You get to skip the line a little bit.
Totally.
You're still going to have to wait. You're still going to have a 20, 30 minute wait to go see, Rapunzel. But at least you skip the line. That's really my goal, is like to take people from that beginning phase where they're so lost.
Sure.
And at least let them skip the line a little bit.
Yeah.
But then they still got to figure it out on their own. From there, what works for them and what doesn't.
Well, let's take a step back here for a second, because you said something, and I imagine this might have gone over a few people's head. You said you test algorithm, not audience.
Right.
Explain what that means, because I think that's may need some clarification.
Yeah, I mean, every social media platform has a different algorithm. Now, Facebook's is different than from Instagram's. Instagram is different from Twitter. Twitter is different from YouTube, and TikTok is in its own little world. And so they're all completely different. And Instagram's probably the hottest one when it comes to business marketing right now, because Facebook's gotten harder and harder and harder lately. But on Instagram, especially, like your response you get from individuals is so based on what they decide to do. And so let's say I always go back to an example of a pizza business, because I have a good friend who runs a pizza shop in my town, and how his followers react to his Instagram posts is different, is going to matter. It's what they do doesn't impact what I do on Instagram, for example. So if let's say Derek is engaging with Studebaker's Pizza, shout out to Studebaker's Pizza in Gatesville, Texas, a little cool little shop there. But if Derek is engaging with their content, it doesn't impact what me, Scott, sees on Instagram, even if I follow that page. Which is different than Facebook. Facebook will say, okay, Derek and I are friends and Derek engaged, so we're going to show it to Scott. Instagram doesn't do that. It's a whole different thing. Instagram's algorithm, like what you see when you pick up your phone and you log into Instagram, what you see is what you've been engaging with recently. And it doesn't care what other people who follow that page do. And so like, for you as a marketer, you've got to figure out like, how do you have two things, especially Instagram. And Instagram, of course, like I mentioned, Instagram is the thing that people can't figure out the most as businesses. You have two different you have like 4 algorithms on Instagram. You have the feed, which is like your followers who are constantly engaging with your content. How do you post stuff that gets them to engage? You have stories, which has its own algorithm. You have Reels, which has its own algorithm. You have IGTV, which has its own algorithm, and then you have search. And so, for when I say algorithm versus audience, is my page is so unique to me that I can't make a scientific conclusion if I just look at myself within a bubble. Yeah. Like I have multiple pages on Instagram. I have fitness pages. I have, animal pages. I have quotes. I have touring Paris pages. I have a Bigfoot page. I'm a big fan of Bigfoot.
Sweet. Nice.
By the way, you can see if you're watching the video, there's Bigfoot feet above me.
Yeah. Just a side
and-
note, in Canada, we call it a Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, Bigfoot, same thing. Yeah. Sasquatch is more scientific, and I respect that. I wear a Bigfoot ball cap most of the time if I don't have a wig on, by the way.
Just for our listeners who aren't watching this on YouTube, it's like 98% of the listeners, Scott has the best mad scientist wig on, and I'm trying to see where where is that from? It's from a character.
Okay, so let's we're gonna have to pause what we were talking about.
Okay, totally. Let's
come back. Let's try to
Go.
remember to come back to that.
Yeah.
So when here's the thing, we created the social media lab 4.5 years ago, 2017.
Yeah.
Our branding with Agora Pulse is kind of orange and black.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, we want the lab. We want a mad scientist character, and he has to have orange hair. And so we created a character that had orange hair, not quite like mine, but similar. He went through 2 iterations, and now he's on his 3rd iteration right now in 2021. And so what's funny is for 2.5 years, I did blog posts, I did podcasts, and that's all I did. Nothing, face to face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one day I was like, I went on Amazon and I bought a wig. Not this one I'm wearing, and I bought a lab coat, the same lab coat I'm actually wearing right now. I like a $20 lab coat, and like a $10 wig, really crappy looking wig. It fell on the floor a minute ago, and I pulled my lab coat up. And I showed our company's based out of Paris, France, and we do a global team meeting like every Wednesday. And so at the end of the meeting, I said, "Hey, I got something I need to add," and I showed up on camera, and the team was about 40 people at the time. Now we're about 130, and everybody has died laughing because here I am in this goofy wig and a lab coat, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Everybody just got a big kick out of it. And then a month later, we were like, our CEO Emmerich was like, hey, I want y'all to start a live video show called Social Media Lab.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. And I told my direct report, I'm like, I don't think I should show up just in a ball cap and a hoodie.
Sure. Yeah.
Even if it's branding, because you're not going to remember that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just every other dude in Texas,
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what if I show up with a wig and a lab coat? And Mike, I still remember this. Mike was like, are you sure? Do you want to do that? I'm not going to ask you to do that because it's kind of, insane and a little bit asinine. And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. So we started this live video show. Me and Owen Video, Owen Himsath is his real name, but he goes by Owen Video. And so we started that show in January that year. March of that year, this was 2018. Social media marketing world. I don't know if you've heard of that or not. It's it's 4,000 or 5,000 people show up in San Diego. And so I'm there in 2018. I'm dressed like this with a big wig on, a lab coat, walking through a high-end hotel, which was the weirdest thing to do. And then our director of sales walked me through the entire audience before the keynote started, just to kind of parade me around. And then Mike Stelzner gets on the stage. He's the founder and president of Social Media Marketing World and Social Media Examiner. And he starts talking about live video, because in 2018, live video was the hottest thing there was. And he started talking about live video shows. He's like, here's a few examples of live video shows that are crushing it. And boom, there's my face. Am I on stage with an orange hair and the lab coat on his examples? And he was giving our show an example. I had no clue he was doing that.
Really?
And he mentioned us 2 or 3 times. At one point, I stood up and took a bow, thank you. And my phone's blowing up. And for the next 3 days was a blur, because I probably took 300, 400 selfies.
Yeah.
Because I'm a 6 foot tall, 270 pound Texan.
Yeah.
And, a big orange 2 foot tall wig. And people were they wanted a selfie with me like crazy. I was in a ton of videos. And our CEO said, what you just pulled off with $40 in costume, we could never pay for in marketing. And so it's become a thing now. Like I'm in our company photo in the middle of it, like pulling my shirt open, showing the Agora Post logo. Sure. I've spoken at, dozens of events and now, I mean, I can go to an event now without this on and nobody recognizes me.
Yeah.
They don't have a clue, which is fun because like I can show up I can go to the breakfast or go to the after party with a ball cap on and a hoodie or a t-shirt. Nobody knows who I am. And I'm like, hey, so-and-so. And they're like, hey. Yeah. And then they go like their face just changes when they realize who it is. But what's funny is like people ask me all the time, and like we have focused on like my talks have mainly been on busting the myths of social media marketing.
Yeah.
And I say, all right, before we go any further and talk about social media, the first myth I have to bust is one, I'm not a troll doll. And I show a picture of an orange-haired naked troll doll.
Yep.
Like I'm not that. Two, I'm not Syndrome from The Incredibles. If you have kids, you've watched Incredibles. Syndrome has his hair, and I actually have a wig that's a little closer to Syndrome behind me. And then three, I'm not Beaker from the Muppets, but I'm very, very close.
Beaker, that's it. That's what I was like.
Beaker's in a lab. He's kind of running around blowing up stuff.
Beaker from the Muppets. I mean, at first I was like Treasure Troll. Yeah, I saw that, but I'm like, no, there's a character somewhere.
And so we create on our own, but it's fun. Like, kind of, and if you speak anywhere, and I'm dying to get back on the stage. I haven't been on the stage since, February of 2020. And in October of 2021, I'm finally getting on the stage again in Denver, Colorado. But that's a fun thing to talk about, and people remember that really quickly. And so that's where it kind of came from. We didn't mean to look like Beaker.
Well, dude, you pulled it off.
But it really looks close. And what's funny is like I have so many, like I've joked over the years, like my expense report is like the weirdest one in the company because I'm expensing wigs and lab coats and hairspray. Like this wig has so much hairspray on it, you don't even understand.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid
because it's traveled literally around the globe.
Yeah,
I have another wig behind me that I actually started wearing in social media marketing world 2020, and then of course the lockdowns happened and we haven't gone since then. I can't wear that one on camera because it's so tall, it goes out of frame unless I sit really, really low. At my desk, and so that's where all of that started. Right. And I think, and I would say, like anybody listening or watching, like the key I would say from that, you can't wear an orange wig and a lab coat and all that sort of stuff, but find something that's a pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
And stands out, whether it's on audio, whether it's on video, whether it's on your branding, pick something that stands out, and makes you uniquely you. That's what's really worked for us is, now people know orange hair guy, that's Agora Pulse, that's the lab, they know who we are. So figure what that is. It doesn't have to be, it could be just be glasses. It could be a t-shirt color. It could be something in your backdrop in your live video shows. Like you've got different cool things behind you right now. Yeah. I mean, think of those things. And that's what branding is all about. And that's free. We didn't even mean that to be part of this podcast, but well, for those of you who want to see, go over to my YouTube channel. And, you can watch the badass Beaker wig. But that was it. When you said it, I was like, Beaker, that's it. And I mean, it's got to be an art. I mean, Muppets haven't been around for forever, right? So that's what we grew up with. So I mean, I'm old. I'm in my late 40s. So I get Beaker. Yeah, totally. I grew up with Beaker.
That's awesome. Okay. So let's go back. Okay, so you said something just a moment ago, and that was Facebook's really hard right now. Instagram's easier. Tell me about that.
I say Instagram's easier. It's still hard, but Facebook organic reach has plummeted over the years. Yeah. I think everybody who's been around, I've been around social media for 12, 13 years. Facebook used to be so like you'd post a cat meme and, you get all these likes and engagement, and it somehow was business. Now you post something, even a live video. I do a live video show every Wednesday. we have seen a drop in the last year and a half where, I would get 200 views live on the video. Now it's like 10.
Yeah.
And it's an algorithm change. Facebook has just changed their algorithm. They're really focusing on groups more than pages now. And so for Facebook, we know that if you're a business page, it's a pay to play sort of market. And that's good and bad. Because the good part of that is if you've got a little bit of money to invest, even like $1 a day, and like Brian Carter is an old friend of mine. And he said, if you don't have at least $1 a day to invest in your business on Facebook, then you shouldn't be in business. Boost a post for $1 a day and see what happens.
Yeah.
So Facebook is pay to play for the most part for businesses.
Yeah.
Instagram is still kind of the Wild West a little bit. I mean, if you can get your followers to engage with you on a good piece of content, you can do well with it. Now there's not links technically on Instagram, step in your bio, or of course what's changed right now is if you had 10,000 followers, you could add a link to your stories. And they're in the middle of changing that right now as a recording this of it's going to be your links can be in stickers now on your stories, and supposedly you don't need the 10,000 followers to get people to to have that option. I don't have it yet on any of my accounts. And I have like 20 accounts and I still don't have it. But Instagram is such a visual thing, and it's you've got to Instagram can feel less markety, if that's a word, than Facebook. Facebook, I think a lot of businesses struggle with always trying to push people to links, and always trying to push people outside of the ecosystem. Where Instagram, you really don't have a lot of options for that. You got to keep people in their ecosystem, which is a reward, inside of Instagram. They don't want you to leave. And Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company. So Instagram is all about that visual. It's all about how can you stop the thumb scroll, whether it's from the feed or it's from the swiping on Instagram stories, or it's Instagram Reels, or it's IGTV, which has still not gotten the most legs they wanted to. And so that's why I say Instagram is a little bit easier than Facebook, because the organic reach, we have a page that's 10,000. Well, I take it back, 50,000 likes on the page. And now we'll post something that's like our reach is on a good day is like 500. On an average day, about 150. And we're like, what the crap? Like nothing changed on our end, but it's just an algorithm change. Because Facebook is all about the last thing you engage with. And that's what they're going to show you. If you notice on Facebook, like if you go and Susie Q's photo from your high school and you engage with this group and you engage with this page, that's typically what you see more and more of. Then you're like, hey, I haven't seen Bob's post in like 6 months. Even though Bob lives next door, but I haven't engaged with his post. I've seen him, but I haven't engaged with him. And it's, Facebook just stops showing it to you. And so Instagram is a little bit different in that aspect of it. And they have a lot of different aspects of it that are involved. So
based on what you're seeing, how is Instagram choosing, like algorithm wise? You're saying it doesn't matter who you're connected to and what they're looking at, it's purely on what you're engaging with.
Right. It's so involved. I think I said earlier, like if you engage with my page, your engagement does not impact what I see, where Facebook will. So let's say, this especially hurts pages that are big. Local businesses tend to do well on Facebook. Smaller pages and local restaurants, especially bars, those kind of things, sports. But let's say I'm like a CNN, and I don't engage with CNN's content, but I like their page, I follow it. Where Derek, you engage with it, I have a little bit higher chance of seeing that content because you're engaging with it. And let's say literally like today, I engage with a post that you make on your own personal profile on Facebook. And so Facebook says, oh, hey, Scott and Derek got a good connection. Scott cares about Derek's content. Let's show Scott more of the things that Derek is doing on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so it'll show you the engagement in your groups, maybe your Facebook pages, those sort of things. Where on Instagram, it doesn't matter. It's all about what Scott does on Instagram. So if Scott engages with CNN or with, say, Brian Fanzo or, Chris Brogan or whoever, whether it's stories or feed posts, that's what Scott's going to see. It doesn't matter what Derek does. Like, your engagement on those posts does not count at all on Instagram. And that's similar to TikTok's similar to.
Yeah.
TikTok is all about you. Like, what's funny with TikTok, and granted, I'm a 46-year-old guy with 3 kids in double digits. And so, TikTok I've deleted like 3 times and added it back because I'm like, I don't want to see teenage girls shaking their booties.
Yeah.
Not my thing. And creepy. And so I added it back here recently because their algorithm changed where I can train it so well to what I want to see. So on TikTok, I just follow other marketers. I follow comedians. I follow people who are doing like, the satisfying videos of crushing things.
Oh yeah.
So that's all I see. And my wife, who's a kindergarten teacher, for years, like, she's never been on TikTok. She's not a social media person. She doesn't understand how to even turn on her laptop most of the time. Complete opposites when it comes to technology. And she got on TikTok recently because her coworkers kept sending her links to stuff. And she's like, all right, I'm finally going to join this because I'm tired of like not figuring out what they're saying. And she's only followed like people who are in the teaching industry.
Yeah.
And only talking about tips for kindergarten teachers and teachers. She does not see the booty shaking videos on TikTok. She's never seen a one. And so, she trained the algorithm really, really fast. So TikTok and Instagram are a lot that way. TikTok is better at categorically figuring it out. So if your category is marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm engaged with other marketers, there's a high chance I'll see your content in the For You side of it. Instagram's getting a little better at that, where they know, like, if you're a blogger, you're a speaker, or whatever, your category you've given it, depending on what your setting is, if you're creator versus business versus personal. They're starting to flesh that out a little bit better, but not quite how TikTok does. But Facebook, Facebook doesn't do that. Facebook's like, hey, this post has gone viral on this page, and Derek and Scott are connected. And then sure, Scott wants to see it when I may not want to.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you I get this all the time. Like, you comment on some sort of political post, and I could care less about politics. But you comment on it and we're friends. Facebook thinks I want to see that because you and I just engaged.
Right.
And I'm like, why in the world am I? My wife gets on me all the time. Like, why are you commenting on this? And she doesn't want to see that.
Yeah.
And so that's the fallacy between the networks. That's so different. But as a marketer, figure out how to leverage that though.
So
that's the important part.
Talking about TikTok though seems to be like the ultimate in like just organic reach right now.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see that. I mean, if I go post a video on Instagram or anything, unless I have a following, it's not going anywhere. Whereas on TikTok, they have from what I've read, a system where, your video is put out to 5,000 people right away just to see how it does. And if it hits a threshold, it goes up and goes up and goes up. And my son, like he creates he's 13 and he'll be like, Dad, I created this video. Look at this. I got 30,000 views. And just baffles me. Those days seem to be gone with the Instagrams.
Yeah. I mean, Instagram's not quite there now. I mean, Reels is helping.
Yeah.
Because Reels is trying to play off, they're copying TikTok.
Yeah.
They're playing off of trending, songs and hashtags and those sort of things.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is like, if I'm thinking from a business perspective, does it matter that I'm being found on some trending topic that has nothing to do with my buyers and their persona.
No.
And it doesn't matter. And most businesses try to do that, though, unfortunately. They're like, make me go viral. I mean, if you run an agency, everybody wants to go viral. And they're like, no, you don't need to go viral. You just need 100 followers who love you.
Yeah. And
will engage with you, and they'll buy from you and all that sort of stuff. And so that's the problem with that, because I've done it and I have I had one of my TikTok channels get banned, which was so random. Is my personal one. I was doing dad jokes, which was so fun because I love dad jokes. But I posted a video of my kids. It was last summer. It was dark. It was like midnight. We had glow sticks all over them. Yeah. And they were jumping up and down the trampoline, and it was the funniest thing because all you see is a glow stick part of them. And I did a song to it on TikTok, but I forgot that in the background we had a speaker playing in our pool that had some other song going on from Disney or whatever.
Copyright flag.
And TikTok just flagged it. Yeah. Boom. No warning. Gone. Like, I lost the account. I had thousands of followers. And that video, up until it got flagged, was like 40, 50,000 views within 24 hours because it was really funny. Yeah. And it was goofy. I used all the trending hashtags and trending songs. But that's the problem with TikTok, is like, I had no chance to appeal it. And I'm like, I didn't mean to. I just take that video down and let me keep going. And I lost all of it. But that's for businesses. I mean, that's the problem, is like, you should not try to always fall into the trending stuff. No, it's funny if you can be ironic in nature. But if you're not, like you said, you're in Vancouver, I believe. Yeah. I mean, if you're a local business in Vancouver and you're trending on TikTok globally, what does that matter? I mean, doesn't. You're a bar who's slinging beer and burgers. Yeah, it's cute. It's great. It's locally, ego. But if no one's showing up at your bar to buy stuff from you, then stop trying to do it. And so I think you got to be strategic with it. Like on Instagram, especially, hashtags are really, really important. That's how non-followers find you. Yeah. And now Instagram actually, like, I think 3 weeks ago, Instagram changed their explore tab or search or whatever you might call it to where it's keyword focused now. So it used to be like you had to search by hashtag, like let's say hashtag project ignite, for example. That's how you had to search, and that's how you'd find it. So we'd use all the hashtags that, to try to get people to find it. Now, if someone just starts searching on Instagram and they search Derek, and they put in a G for your last name, you're probably going to show up. Right. Or they search project, and then you might show up in that. So it's more about keywords now, and your description, your name of your account is so important now. That's why, like the lab, for the lab, we actually changed our social media accounts recently. We used to be just called Agora Pulse Lab. And now I changed all of them to Social Media Lab Live, because if anybody's searching for social media on Instagram, there's a much higher chance for them to find me. And so think about your hashtag usage on Instagram, and think about what are the keywords you're using, because that's how it's going to show up. It's going to be based on your username, what's in your description, and then what are your hashtags. And that's how new people follow you. If people are already following you, they're already going to see your stuff anyway. Yeah. It's about new people that are finding you.
Right. So question for you, because you're always testing stuff. One of the questions I have, particularly with Facebook and stuff, is people are posting and they're trying to get reach and engagement. Right. And, there's always the debate versus video versus image versus just text. Yeah. Is there an answer, or is it depends? What we have found, and our testing is a little bit dated, I'll be honest with you. We probably need to retest it. Text sucks on Facebook. Yeah. Just downright sucks. We know from, even before the lab was created, like 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, Facebook said,
text only updates are diminishing reach on Facebook pages.
Yeah.
And the reason that happened was what was happening was people were posting text with a bit.ly or a link and nobody knew what it went to.
Yeah.
And so that started to get to diminish. And then they posted a couple years ago, and I tested this one once, was Facebook, photos with a link, and the description was diminished as well. Because what was happening there was, and I leveraged this like crazy back in the day when it worked. Like you'd post a picture of a cute kitten and put some sort of cute description and like, here's a link to find more cute kittens or whatever.
Yeah.
But the link went to your blog or your funnel or some sort of spammy page. And people bounced immediately. And so Facebook started to realize if people are bouncing within like 1 or 2 seconds, then this is obviously spam and it's crap. And so Facebook started to diminish the reach of photos with a link in the description. Granted, I have tested that like 2 years ago, and it's not actually diminished as much as it used to be. So there's still some value in maybe doing that nowadays. So, I mean, to answer your question, videos, native videos on Facebook uploaded that are short in nature, tend to always do well. And we know the attention span on Facebook and Instagram is like, 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And you've got to have subtitles on your videos because people don't have sound on. So short, quick, quirky videos that catch people's attention do best. Live videos are kind of right there with it. And I'm a live video advocate.
Yeah.
I get, I'm an ambassador for Restream and they pay me to talk about live video. I love live video. I go live multiple times a week. Live video on Facebook is getting diminished right now. Who knows why? It's just an algorithm change because I think Facebook's focused on groups so much.
So, okay.
And so I would say, like, if I'm thinking about my priority, just to answer your question real quick, I would say upload videos that are short natively to Facebook. Don't post YouTube links. Live video right there with it, but live video after it's aired, you're not going to get a lot of views after the fact. And then photos, and then text, and then links is somewhere kind of around there too.
My theory with Facebook is whenever there's something new that they launch, they give it a whole bunch of organic reach to really boost it up, and then they start throttling it back. And I think that's where we are with live streaming, right? Like I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And right now, I mean, in the podcast world, and I don't have it yet, Facebook is trying to dip their toes in podcasts. Yeah. Some pages have started to see the ability to just connect your RSS feed to your Facebook page, and then it publishes audio from your RSS feed as a podcast and audio to a page. So they're playing around with that even right now, and they're giving that. Like I know 2 pages that I follow, and I won't name them, that have gotten that access, obviously. And like all of a sudden, that's all I'm seeing from them in my feed is all their podcast posts, just boom, just over and over and over and over again. And Facebook does that a lot. They'll pull that lever. I mean, they ran ads during the Super Bowl for Facebook groups. So that they want you to see posts from Facebook groups. And if you go to your Facebook profile, your feed, your news feed, that's pretty much what you see is any groups that you're involved with. You see that a lot. So I think you'll continue to see that. And now this new podcast, because everybody's trying to copy Clubhouse. Which I think has died personally.
It totally did. I could never wrap my head around how audio was the next big thing in social media.
I know. It's like, I've pissed people off. I hope I can say that word on your podcast.
Yeah, you're good.
I've ticked a lot of people off because I'm like, Clubhouse is going to die really quick in the middle of 2021. Clubhouse is gone. I'm wrong a lot, like I mentioned earlier, but I'm like, it's audio and it's right now. It's FOMO. I can't go back and listen to it. No, I'm not going to do it. And it was only iOS for a while, and I'm an Android guy. So I downloaded Clubhouse. I was in 2 Clubhouse meetings. I listened to 3. I closed the app. 3 months later, I deleted the app. Because I never went into it. I got tired of the notifications. And now we saw, Twitter's got their Twitter Spaces, which I think is actually which is probably better than Clubhouse, because at least you have your Twitter following.
Yes.
Facebook is trying Facebook audio, but come
Well,
on, I want to listen to audio at my leisure.
Yes.
Not when you're on only. And because that's, people, you and I both know, people listen to your podcast when they're at the gym.
Yep.
They're driving, they're on a walk, they're, they're at lunch, they got the earbuds in at Starbucks, whatever it is. They don't want to have to go, at 4 p.m., I've got to go listen to this piece of audio. No one wants that. And what I think it did is the pandemic with Clubhouse, and this is not scientifically at all. It was a perfect storm. We had all of these keynote speakers and people who are at events, especially in the marketing space. And they're the ones who pushed it. Mm-hmm. They had no stage. They had nowhere to go talk. They got sick of virtual meetings. And so they created Clubhouse. They used Clubhouse as their quote unquote stage. Yep. And you get the mic and all this sort of crap. And they were able to spew whatever it is they wanted to spew. But now that stages are coming back around, they're kind of quiet on them now, because now they're busy making money and doing their thing again. And, I kept saying Clubhouse should have been bought by LinkedIn. And if LinkedIn had bought Clubhouse, it would have made sense.
But it's audio technology. How much are they going to really pay a multi-billion? They could just, build it themselves.
They could do it on their own. That's the problem. And the problem to me too is it's on your phone. And like I said, I'm 46 years old. I do not like doing much on my phone. I just don't. Yeah. I'll text. I'll never answer the phone if you call me. I don't like doing much else than that. I want to use my nice high LPR 40. I want to use my mixer, and trying to figure that out. You can do it through your phone. I get it. But it's a pain in the butt to figure out. It's not easy, and most people can't do it. So I think that audio idea. It was it was a COVID phenomenon when everybody was bored and had nothing else to do. Now, I mean, maybe Delta variant will pull it back in. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Okay. One more topic I want to dig into a little bit before we wrap up here, and that is groups. And you said, they're putting a lot more emphasis on groups and stuff. And I've been, I sort of beat the groups drum a few years ago, probably like 2 years or 3 years ago on one of my beginning of the year predictions. I was like, groups are going to be the focus and stuff. And I still feel like they're the second cousin that just gets ignored. And I'm like, I've got groups, right? I've got groups that have a lot of members in them, and it pisses me off to no end that I can't boost from a group, Oh yeah. Right? Yeah. Like you post something in a group and you're like, did they see it? Did they not? Right? Like, what's your prediction with where groups are going? I think new groups do really well. Mm-hmm. Old groups struggle. Like I have a group for the lab that I created, like you said, on a whim, because like groups are hot. Mm-hmm. Let's create a group. And then it went dormant for like 2 years. And then now 1,900 people in it, and like I get reach of 150, and because people aren't engaging. So I think groups still do better than pages in a lot of regards for organically speaking. But you've got to figure out with a group how to keep people talking and get them to engage with polls and live video and links. And once you die off, I mean, it dies pretty fast. Because Facebook algorithm is still like you can't see it on my it's on the wrong spot. On my chalkboard behind me, I have the old EdgeRank algorithm. If you remember EdgeRank in the old days, which was based on weight and time decay and all this sort of stuff. That was the old EdgeRank algorithm. Facebook still is a little bit about that. So if you haven't engaged with a group, let's say in a month or two, you're probably not going to see a post from that again. Unless you decide to go over to that group again. Like I noticed that with a group here recently. Like I hadn't been in it in probably 6 months. I went back to it to kind of look for some information, which is the cool thing about groups. You can search and find some information. And then now I'm seeing all their posts again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think groups are good. I think the people, a lot of people do pop-up groups, which are very temporary, like a 30-day,
Sure.
60-day challenge. And those tend to do well because they'll show up so quick. Because you notice if you go join a group right now,
Yeah, you're
like, like you're blown up with their posts.
Yeah.
Like that's all you see, almost to the point of like, I got to leave this group.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing too much. So Facebook's still pushing it. Like I saw an ad Saturday during college football when college football came back on about Facebook groups. And it was like they were really pushing towards the Gen Zers, which I thought was interesting because they're not really on Facebook.
Nope.
which was funny because that ad was all about Gen Z and their lifestyle and parties and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, they're not on Facebook, but they were trying hard though to appeal to them. So I think as a business, I mean, our podcasts have a group, but you've got to figure out how to get people engaged constantly because once it dies off,
it dies off.
It goes away just like your page. And probably not as bad as your page, perhaps. Because what I've noticed, if I start to engage in other groups on Facebook, then Facebook starts to resurface other groups in my feed quite often. I notice that a lot. Yeah. Because maybe it's a signal like, okay, well, Scott's interested in some groups again. Let's show him
fired up
some of his old groups that he joined, 2 years ago. And then I'm like, oh crap, why am I in this buy sell group? I need to get out of it. So yeah, I still think there's value there, but I do think it's, you've got to. Rob Balasabas, I don't know if you know Rob. He's with TubeBuddy. Rob has a group called Content Marketers Cafe. He does a great job of engaging his group and constantly asking them open-ended questions that are easy to answer. And getting people to share because people the bad thing about groups is people want to spam them like crazy.
Yep.
Especially in the marketing space.
Yeah.
And so, but he gives avenues for people to share where, and engage and excite them. So you got to figure that part of it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's still value. Yes, you can't boost them. I think there are ways actually you can advertise your group instead of ads manager, but you can't actually boost an individual post.
I've never found it in ads manager.
I saw one the other day. I will tell you right now, ads manager is frustrating lately.
Oh, dude, it's off the charts frustrating.
And like, what did you like? I used to bag groceries at a grocery store when I was 17, and we used to move the bread around a lot. And I used to always be like, why are we moving the bread so much? And one of the regional managers told me we moved the bread because everybody has to buy bread. And if we move it down a couple of aisles, they've got to walk through more aisles to find the bread and they buy more stuff. So if you go to grocery stores, you'll notice they move stuff, bread especially, a lot. Facebook ads managers are a lot like old grocery stores. They move stuff around, and I think to get you to spend more money. Like you run an ad, you're like, crap, I just spent $1,000 and I didn't mean to.
That's
the frustrating thing with ads manager.
It's a moving target at all times.
Oh, for sure.
Well, look, this has been a great conversation. That said, we're running out of time. So
I get it.
Before we wrap up, though, is how can our listeners connect with you, learn from you, see what you're working on?
Yeah, you can. There's a short, hopefully the shortened URL works. Socialmedialab.live should take you over to our website. On our website, you'll find all of our experiments as well as the recent audio versions of our interviews that I do on my live show. I've got 2 podcasts, Social Media Lab and Social Media Lab Live. The live is just the interviews from my live show. The last year, I've been just interviewing people on the live show, and then I flip it into a podcast. The main lab podcast, which is my older one, is just the experiments themselves. So we've kind of segmented those 2. And then anywhere on social, just search Social Media Lab, look for orange hair. And that's you've got the right lab at that point.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you. Thanks for being here. I really enjoyed the conversation. And I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you're down in Texas, say hi.
For sure.
Or howdy. Or A.
Or A. Oh, yes. You know it's me, eh? Well, guys, I hope our listeners have pulled a lot out of this episode. We covered a lot of different topics here. And as per usual, how do you get value out of what you learned? You actually use it. You take action. You take what we've given you here today and you apply it. And if you apply it and you like what you heard, please leave me a rating or review at your favorite podcast platform. And as usual, all the links discussed in this episode will be available on the show notes at projectignite.com. And well, folks, that's a wrap. We'll see you in our next episode.
Thanks for listening to another info-packed episode of the Project Ignite podcast with Derek Gale.
Any links mentioned, along with an entire transcript of this episode, can be found at projectignite.com/podcast.
And to make sure you never miss another episode, go to iTunes or SoundCloud now and subscribe.